Oi, nCM, Vamos family, Kiemo Tata nZambi Yamazulu, Kim Fumu Kyakuisa. I come before you today, and I know my sister, I just talked to Sister Tulah. I'm not going to touch on the things we talked about, but this is going to be something that's going to be connected to what we did discuss. I'm going to show you, first I begin to nZambi, man. I said people will receive this message and begin to understand the many things that have been taught, the deceivers that continue to be a part of this deception, how even many of the deceivers continue to be our own people. We ask Tata nZambi that people will understand that there's been a lot of things that's been altered and changed, and the way we live today was conditioned for a reason. And get the shoot me up. I'll start down and forgive me. I want to first give honor to Congo, Manasemi, Mandavilila, all of the ancestors, the Maliki Congo, all the history and all the things that we're talking about, Bantu people, Luvuvamu, and today, this is going to be a very powerful teaching. It's going to put things into perspective. You're going to see how and why the Ish people hide certain things. And people don't know that part of the reason why many European companies rejected what they believed about them or what they were told in the past is because they were aware of certain truths, which at this time, many people deny, but want to continue to hide the truth. And I'm going to show you that sadly, part of those who are hiding the truth are in fact Bantus, Congo people, Bana Betu. And it goes in tune with what Yaya Mikel Massa, Yonata Chilombo, and Pastor Mello and others have been trying to teach our people, that there's a reason that they don't want Yakuba to wake up, because they know what the world was like when Yakuba was awake. What do I mean? Okay. We're aware of the Knights Templars, who they are, but what many people don't know is that some of the members, I've always suspected, and I knew that, the Knights Templars had a part in our slavery, but it's like, oh, sorry, excuse me. The biggest deception that many people in Africa aren't aware of is who helped to strip Africa or Embo of its wealth. And we've tried to explain a few times now that the Most High is behind a lot of the things that has happened to us. And the history that they teach was meant to hide this. So I'm going to go back to a history. So from 7-Eleven, and I've talked about this in the past, to 1492, it says, when Black Africans ruled Europe. Now, the deception, and sadly, this, if you want to talk about where a lot of the hatred towards Bantu people starts, it's this time frame from white Europeans, okay? Because what people don't know is what is really responsible for the end of the reign of the Black Africans in Europe in 1492 is the fact that the Most High was ready or beginning to. Oh, forgive me. Oh, all right. The Europeans, the Most High was getting ready to do exactly what he said he was going to do to Yakuba, to Jacob. So, in essence, this is when the Most High said that the action, the events that were happening in the Congo, and even our people who were ruling in Europe, were a problem for him, because sadly, as has always been the case, the fallen angels do whatever they can, and they have done many deceptive ways to keep the Ezekiel 37, okay? And of course, it goes into the scriptures of the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, okay? When we talk about the Black African Moors, now I know many of them were Islam, but what many people fail to understand is there were Islamic Bantus. There were also Catholic and Christian Bantus in Europe during this time, okay? When we keep telling people, you know, these people have always known who we are, the whole purpose of rewriting history, because remember, at the same time that these people were in Europe, so were the Ashkenazi, or the people who became the Khazars became the Ashkenazi people, the Ish people, okay? They were also in this region. During this time, and this is going to be when the Most High is going to reveal so many different things, okay? There was no such place as Israel. The people who referred to as the Jewish people never referred to themselves in this time frame as Israelites. Even this is why when from 7-Eleven to 1492, the scriptures, at which at that time there were 80 scripts, there were 80 books in the Catholic scriptures, where it was written in Latin, mostly translated for French interpretation, because there were two popes at one time, okay? And of course, there was in English, there was actually, most people don't understand, it wasn't just King James didn't do the English version. There was an English version before, but it was actually written off of the books that came from the Nicene Fathers, and of course the interpretations of the people, the popes. During this time, and people don't understand, this is why this is one of the reasons why many painters were commissioned to do what they did after 1492. There were some of the popes that you'll see in the history records had their color altered for the very reason as to hide the fact that Bantus were in the Catholic Church. Okay. Because like the Most High said, when he said, if you do not obey his laws, statutes, and commandments, he would make Isolele the tail and not the head. That didn't just stop with 70 AD. That's the deception that the historians want people to believe. Okay. When the kingdom of Isolele fell, Bantu people were also in Italy. They were also in Tarshish. They were in different places, in addition to running from whatever the Roman Empire was doing. Okay. This is why Kuswa Congo said that the disciples, the Abafundi, needed to go locate and find the scattered trails of Isolele while he was actually still here. Okay. So after 7 AD, when Titus destroyed the temple, which the Romans know where that really happened. That's the deception of the world. There was an already, because we started the war against the Bantu people, started a war against the Romans, there was already the initiative to begin the process of controlling and keeping control over the Bantu at that time. This is when you had the Arabs, the Khazars, who at that time, which you would now call, part of them were kind of like the Sanhedrin, the Roman Empire, what did they call them? The Vulgate would be part of this. The Vulgate was created. The, what are those guys? The Flavian rulers of Rome would begin the process of deceiving the world about the identity of the Bana Betu. Now, the way the Gentiles were meant to interpret their receiving the gospel was in a fashion to where it became, like we talked about this before, that their role was to become the replacement adopted children of the Most High, because his people rejected the Messiah. And one of the things that happened with the converts is they began the process of altering the gospels to favor them and to say and change the counting of everything, that the Messiah never came, their Messiah never came, okay, which was something even in the Byzantine Empire, which we know they had their images changed. The Roman, our people, there's a history that even the King of Embo talked about how we were in the Vatican translating the scriptures. The Agikuyu seers have mentioned this before. Okay. So one of the things that we talk about all the time is the fact that they have always known who we are. Because if you go to the Moors, even if they were the Berbers or the Ethiopians or whatever, Akatiopians or any of those people, okay, they knew where the kingdom of Congo was, and they know who were in the kingdom of Congo. Okay. Because when we go, you see where it says 1492 was when they were still ruling, and see that the biggest deception about this is these people, and many and some of them were even Bantus, okay, were already navigating the seas. Some of the 12 tribes were already navigating the seas. Okay. I was talking to a person about that. I believe it was my brother Yakuba from Congo. We were discussing certain things about this, that there's a lot of history that our people are not privy to, because they started to burn the books and destroy many different things and change a lot of stuff around because of this scripture, when the Most High said that Jacob would become the tail and Esau and other nations would become the head. Ooh, excuse me. So we go back to where it says in Hosea chapter 2, it says, "Oh, I will strip her naked and expose her as the day when she was born. I will also make her like a wilderness, make her like a desert land, and slay her with thirst." So when we go back, this is one of the things, um, when the Most High was threatening, this is a future prophecy. This is not just, during that time, because this is something that we always have a problem with. The Bantu people, the Most High has stripped us naked several times. This was the final time because he saw, okay, we still would never learn our lesson. We don't want to quit worshiping Baal and choosing Baal over him. Okay. And this is evident when you go to the rulers of the time. Let's see, where is that? So when we go to the history of the black kings and queens who ruled Europe, some of these people were Bantu. Now, of course, there were some Berbers, but the Berbers were also mixed with Bakongo people. They know this. This particular statue, the symbol that they're holding is now affiliated. It's what they got from the Hittites, with the two eagles with the facing one side or the other, that would become the symbol for Freemasonry. So it goes to show you that they have to keep, this is why they downplay the knowledge of the Moors, because we know King Solomon technically was, because of his worship of Moloch, he helped to institute what the Freemasons call the foundation, and allowed them to reject the cornerstone that the builders rejected. Okay. Our ancestors played a role in many of the structures that you see in Europe today. Now, this history is hidden because the concept that the Most High wanted us to understand is we were to become the tail. So with that comes the destruction of the knowledge of the truth. Okay. And those he put over us when we were taken into slavery, when you go to the book of Hosea, remember we played the harlot. And see, this is why we said we chased our lovers, because even in Europe, one of the things that we were not doing, even when we were accepting the religions that we had a hand in creating, and instead of helping Bantu people become one nation like we were supposed to, we continued to learn the ways of the heathen. That's one of the problems that the Most High has always had with us. Okay, we adopted many of the ways of the things that we should not. Okay, we worship the gods of wood and stone. We should not. Um, we did things that were according to what we wanted and not what the Most High wanted. And so what actually happened is when you look at what took place in Europe and then in the Kingdom of Congo, because we were having issues there as well, okay, this is why the Most High was like, okay, you gotta go. Okay. And then everything got turned upside down and the theft and everything of the inheritance began to take place. Now, what's so significant about this is that when you look at one of the biggest lies of history, you know, we know that the people brought out the true identity of the monarchs of part of Europe, which especially around England and those regions, the understanding that King James was a Muntu or a Bantu uh, affiliation, and his mother and others. Henry VIII was really a Muntu, okay? And of course, some of the rulers in France. And the whole concept of stealing an identity comes with hiding the truth. So one of the things I wanted to show you is the deception of America and those who are forgotten because of their history has been altered so much, is that if you go to look at King James, and I'm not going to go deep into this, you'll have to do your research on this, but I'm going to show you the King James Bible. Okay, we talk about it all the time. Well, King James, now of course we know these images, what they've done. They lighten up a lot of, they took their brushes and they lighten up a lot of things, okay, to hide certain truths. But it says his reign went from 1603 to 1625. Now, I want you to understand that the colonies started in 1607. So a Muntu or a Bantu or children of Isolele was sitting on the throne of England when the first slaves came to Jamestown. So his seal, I know I told today, I know this is not gonna go too deep, but his seal impacted many of the things that happened in our slavery. Okay, and I'll leave that alone for now. So more of y'all have to really understand this. But see, it goes back to what Massa said. Even in the Kingdom of Congo, the kings of Congo sent Bantus into slavery. Okay, so let's get into it real quick. So when we look at the 13 colonies, it says the tobacco colonies, the 1606 King James I divided the Atlantic seaboard into two, giving the southern half to the London Company and the northern half to the Plymouth Company. Okay. Later, the Virginia Company, and we know we landed in Virginia. Okay. This is why we keep trying to tell people, one of the things, he took the Hebrew scrolls and turned them into the real book. Part of the reason why he was able to do that is because of the connection to the Muntu, the Bantu people who started to go into slavery. Some even showed up in Europe before, okay, they went to the colonies. Now, I'm going to show you why you have to take the Bible, okay, what we call the King James book, with a grain of the 1611 with a grain of salt, because the real understanding of what happened to King James, okay, remember, he's the King of England, so he is a Knights Templar. he is affiliated with the Knights Templar at this time. Okay. So what happened is when he took the scriptures and converted them into what he felt was the true Bible, similar to the same kind of things that happened with Martin Luther King Jr., that was considered going against the brotherhood. You're not supposed to be, the Catholic Church didn't approve. Okay. At all. The Catholic Church didn't approve of it because you're going against the original canon of what, because he started to see certain things that the Most High was revealing. And for that, he was killed. Now, just to get an idea why we say you cannot, the Most High's word coming from the Bana, Betu, the Tulah, okay, the nZambi. We go to the person. This is the man who, okay, so I'm going to read this. This is the man who was responsible for putting out the King James. I'm going to get in some detail. This is obviously, this is done by a person who was actually a Kadian Pemba, Mundele, somebody who's trying to show that this is a white, probably a white person who's showing you, hey, there's inaccuracies in your own Bible. Okay. So it's in the 1611 King James is ornamented with Bacon's symbol, and my own special copy of the recorded edition, also dated 1611. So this person has in his hand one of the original 1611 Bibles, and it has Bacon. He says this is symbolized with Bacon's symbols. Also dated 16. These symbols are Rosicrucianly marked. Now, if you know anything about the Rosicrucians were the people who actually practiced witchcraft. Okay. They did certain esoteric things in secret to call the attention of the initiated to them and to tell them that the 1611 is, without possibility of doubt, one of Bacon's books. So what they're saying is, after King James ordered the changing of the Hebrew scrolls into the King James Bible, this man comes along and he starts to put in it. This started happening. This is why around his death. Okay. Because you have to remember, he died, he was removed in 1624. Let's see, what did I say? Okay, so his 1625, his book comes out. The 1611 King James shows up before the first Muntu arrive in America. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, when we look at, it says here, when Bacon was born, English as a literary language did not exist. Okay, let me put it again. When Bacon was born, English as a literary language did not exist. So you didn't write things in English when this man was born. If you even, this is something they even put it in the movies, people don't really know that this was a code language for people, especially the Knights Templars, to do secrecy against the things that they were doing with Rome and certain things that were going on when they were having their issues. Which, of course, sometimes you think, wonder, was it done on purpose? Was it done intentionally? Those different things. But I digress on that one. But once he died, he had succeeded in making the English language a noble vehicle of thought over possessed by mankind. And we know this man was a Knights Templar. This is why we say there's esoteric, there's secret codes in the English language that's actually designed to spellbound you. Because remember, I just said it's a Rosicrucian man. So this is why you can see already the manifestation of false teachings is going to already happen in the translation into English. Okay, we already know the Latin was holding back certain things that Bantu people already knew when we encountered the Catholics in Congo. Okay, that's why we said we already knew the Messiah. They already knew this. That's why Moni Congo, what's the name? The Portuguese, conquerors went back to the king of Portugal and said, these people already know the creator. They already know the scriptures. You have to ask yourself, how is that possible? Okay. But you see, this is also evident in Europe. Bantu people who already knew the scriptures. But what we were doing is not according to the Most High's will. We were being, again, the 7 assemblies, like I already told you, they never repented. These 7 assemblies continued to do the things that the Messiah was not happy with, okay, including being lukewarm. And then, of course, when you look at what happened with Islam, we know where that came from. Well, Bantus were involved with that too, okay? So we look at, it says, now we know that there's some secrets that came out about Shakespeare, that a lot of his writings were done by a Muntu woman, a Bantu, okay? There's a name, I can't remember her name, people might remember, but she did a lot of his writings when he did his, this is one of the secrets that they talk about that's finally coming out. And he succeeded in making the English language the noble vehicle of thought or possessed by mankind. This he accomplished merely by his Bible and his Shakespeare. Okay. Edwin D. Lawrence, author of Bacon is Shakespeare and the Shakespeare Myth, from a lecture, October 9, 1912. Okay, the Shakespeare Myth. What are they telling you? We told you he didn't write his things. The woman, the slave. See, people don't understand, and the noble people, in many cases, their help would write things as they dictated. And in some ways, they could actually do it better than them. Okay. The Bible, which all of us read and admire from a literary point of view because of its peculiar and beautiful English, was written in that form by Bacon, who invented and perfected that style of English expression. The first editions of this Bible were printed under the same guidance in the same manner as were the Shakespeare plays. So what we're seeing is, and this is why Masa, Yanata, myself, Kefas, other people are saying that nZambi, the Most High, is in the Bible, but the Bible is not the Most High, because you see, this is a man who is already putting a style of writing into it that was even different than what was the Romans, the Italians, the Latin Bible, okay, in his translation, okay. The first edition was printed under the same guidance. The ornaments from the various pages were drawn in pen and ink and on wood, artists engaged by Bacon, who worked under his supervision. Every one of the ornaments concealed from Rosicrucian emblem and occasionally a Masonic emblem. But at this time, they weren't around yet, but they still use it, are some initials that reveal Bacon's name or the name of the Rosicrucians. Such ornaments were put on not only in the Christian Bible. So here, this is what we're showing you. Okay, this is where um, we already knew they had at this time they had the how do you call it, the Protestant movement. Okay, and now as you see with King James, his Bible would now become the blueprint that many Christian beliefs would now start to use. And that's why we try to tell people, okay, that even in Catholicism, you were already being deceived. Now you're seeing in Christianity, this man is already starting to deceive people because he is not, this man does not worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at all. As a Knights Templar, they know this. Okay. So he's already is concealing certain things. And the reason why they're concealing it is because they don't want, they were trying at this point to keep it hidden who the Most High's people are, because we were already going into slavery at this time. Even though King James was trying, I mean, because it's weird because he was himself connected to the slaves. He was trying to make amends. I'm thinking with the scripture to tell the truth. And they were like, oh no, we can't do that. Okay. We have to keep the truth hidden. It started back in 1492 and in the 1500s with when they went to Africa and when they kicked out us out of Europe and all these different things. He said, we're not going to go back and start to to get people to understand the truth. Okay. So now such ornaments were put only in the Christian Bible that Bacon had rewritten in the Shakespearean plays and some of Bacon's own books. And for other books, they were typically Rosicrucian in spirit. And of course, the Rosicrucian spirit is the harlot, okay, is the false Messiah. Okay, the first edition of King James was edited by Francis Bacon and prepared under, now listen to this, and prepared under Masonic supervision. Bears more Mason's marks than the Cathedral of Strasbourg. Okay, it's from a Manly P. Hall from a lecture, Rosicrucian Masonic Origins, 1929. Okay, this is the 1920s. They're telling you the King James Bible was altered. Okay. Bacon edited the authorized version of the Bible printed in 1611. Dr. Lancelot Andrews, Bishop of Winchester, one of the chief translators, was Bacon's close friend. Wait a minute. This is a pastor. And he's best friends with a what? Do you not understand? We keep telling you this. And the MSS are missing. That Bacon revised the manuscripts before publication is certain. Neither Bilston nor Miles, to whom the MSS were entrusted for final revision. So I'm assuming MSS is I forget what that stands for, but it's to make sure that everything is how they want it. So what we're saying is, because corresponding to the Baconian for their peer letter about the subject from Earl Cornwell, and it says, here of late I have been reading about a volume of 2 of the Baconian booklets 2 years earlier, Baconian magazine, and Life as Alice Barnum, and all from and Bana thoughts, muties, all from curiosity concerning Bacon's life. He surely was a fascinating character, and I have yet no life of Bacon. Okay, so they're trying to show you this is the attempt where they're not telling you who did the Bible. Okay, so it says, I own a set of Encyclopedia Americana, which is the counterpart of Britannica in size and number of volume under quote-unquote Bacon. I find a generous 4-page article by Frederick N. Robinson, professor of English, Harvard University. A mention of Bacon's full literary activities, but not a word on Holy Bible. Then under Holy Bible, dozens of pages by W. Barry Smith, and under quote-unquote King James Version, a record of the 47 translators, including 3 or 4 ancient engraved divines who worked 7 years on the project. Again, no word of Bacon. So they're trying to show you they did not want you to know what they did. But look, it says a record of 47 translators of the true Hebrew, and they know what Hebrew text they're talking about. Okay, this is what they don't want to tell you. I'm telling you right now, this would not have come from the people, because they were against Christianity. So where did it come from? I mean, the Agikuyu series talk about where are our scrolls. Because see, in 1611, by now, they would have stolen them from the Kingdom of Congo. Remember? 1482, we had the visit from Diego Cal. I'll get into that in a minute. So here you have the visit, okay, 1570, Banza Congo. They changed it to South Salvador. So at this time, you have where the scrolls have already been taken from the Kingdom of Congo. Okay, that they claim that we didn't have. And so here they end up where? In England. Also in the Vatican. That's what I'm trying to tell people. They always know. They've always known. We're not making this up. They're telling them themselves, but people want to disagree. Go right ahead. Okay. So now we go back to, and I give kudos to this brother, I guess. His website is called the Bantu Kush Nubian Name Legacy, and it's called the Bantu Moors, that he talks about, that are located, that came to Europe. The seals that actually have moon tools in it. He talks about the real Moors came to Europe, King Charles Stuart II, the black boy of King of England, 1630 to 1685. Okay, that's long after King James. So even while we're enslaved in America, you have a black king over the Americas. Okay. So they say he shows how this was falsely painted to lighten it up. I can actually see the black features in his face, but say they'll never know that. They'll never tell you that he was this complexion. They say King Henry, Charles, this is him, and they made this of King Charles to make him appear that he was European descent. And the jokes on the white people is the Europa comes from, technically it's a goddess, a black goddess name affiliated with Ishtar. Okay. That's why they don't even some people don't even like to use it anymore, if I understand. So when we go back to the lineage of Bantus, when we say, terribly sorry, when we say that we have been bamboozled, hoodwinked, run amok, led astray, okay, in addition to our people enslaved, you have our people that were still sitting in thrones, but we were going down. We were all being, we were being put into that next level of slavery. So it shows you they didn't take people who didn't have knowledge. They didn't take people who were heathens, although other tribes did demonstrate certain characteristics against. But when the Most High says that his enemies are confederate against them, you see the amount of work that has been done to stop the awake, to not allow us to wake up. Because see, the issue is, before the 1400s, they recognized that we were some pretty powerful people. We had certain abilities. I mean, you can't have a reign in Europe for 700 years. Okay, even if I know we have connections to other things, but you can't have this happening if if you don't. These people obviously had knowledge of our history, knowledge of our culture, knowledge of the things that we do, because sadly we gave over certain secrets to them because our people refused, like you said, we refused to know the true creator. The ox knows his master, the donkey knows his crib, but my people, they do not know me and they don't understand. Okay. When Tata nZambi revealed to me, we never stop worshiping Baal. This is what he's talking about. Even in Europe, even in the Congo, we constantly were working against him when he was the one that led us to the promise. Okay. Now the world's going to see that all along, okay, that the only reason why the other nations have become wealthy or have become blessed is because he gave it over to them out of jealousy. But the goal was to return it to us so that we could help save the world. But instead, they chose to listen to the wicked ones. Okay. So when did everything really start to get messed up? Let's take a look. Right around, I'm assuming we'll go with this time frame. So these guys really began to form themselves in the 1717, which is an 88, by the way. This is 88 to make sense because that's the veil. So this is when they started to bring you into the matrix. Right around this time, when things in history started to really change. And ironically, there was I'm assuming there's going to be some Bantu Moors and other Bakongo people that became affiliated with some of this. especially later on when the plantations, we started to leave them. Okay. This is why when we look at the history that we see, it's all altered because they play a role in teaching you the way, okay, that is what you are meant to see, not what is really happening. Okay. And now, with the things that are happening today, as the Most High is removing this veil and he's removing the wickedness incorporated with, okay, they're showing you, he's showing you that you're living in the land of deception. Okay. Now, people have been made to think, oh yeah, Freemasonry is a good thing. And see, the reality is that they don't even know their history comes from, and I know Masa talked about it, they do things that are actually not even biblical at all. But their role is to keep you thinking that they are biblical. That was the whole purpose, because they couldn't build what they're supposed to build unless you believe what they tell you. So anything you're taught in the schools, in the colleges, and everywhere you go, the curriculums they teach, the things that they talk about must be vetted through them. It must be vetted through what you consider the Roman Catholic Church, who is affiliated with this. Now, the history will say, oh no, they were against each other. Now, let me tell you something. When it comes to like the Guspa said, Satan's kingdom cannot be divided against itself, or it cannot stand. So, but the point is, in his kingdom, they don't like each other because there's a lot of hatred, but they still are not divided. They're still unified in one ultimate goal, is to make sure that the Bantu people stay down. That the people of this kingdom never realize the truth. Even when it said, as I said, let me go to let me see if I saw it. When they came, it told you, they said, it's the kingdom of heaven in 1624. So it says, it even said the term Mwene is created by adding the personal prefix mu to the stem to mean person of the kingdom. Okay. So when we go back to one of what the historians talked about, this is when it talks about it. This is a bit different. They took it. Where's the other one? Love it when you they see the page disappeared, because they always check to see when you start picking up knowledge. All right, so we're going to go to the list of rulers of the Kingdom of Congo. We're almost done. So this is the list of rulers of the Kingdom of Congo, known as the Mani-Congos, Kikongo. We're talking about Kikongo, the language. Mwene Congo. That's why even when the Portuguese went back, they said they sound like they speak our language, parts of our language, in Latin and Spanish. They could tell. Meant in a person holding authority, particularly judicial authority, derived from the root Mwene, meaning by the 16th century territory over which jurisdiction was held. The ruler of Congo was the most powerful Mwene in the region, who the Portuguese regarded as the king. In Kikongo, Intinu. And Intinu is how we say is another way to call on the Most High. Intinu about Intinu. Upon their arrival in 1483. The kings claimed several titles. Okay. They call him Rey de Congo, do Luanga, de Kakongo, and then Ngoyo, Akem. See, that means by the grace of the God King of Congo. Hello. So they're recognizing these people with spiritual power. That's what they're telling you. But of course, because of the Most High's order, when he made the deal to take us into captivity, that all changed. Kanda, Pastor Miller discussed that. That means reference to the scriptures. It says, when the Portuguese arrived in Congo in 1483, the reigning king represented the Nimi Kanda. Now, here's where you're going to start getting all kind of creative with it, because Pastor Mello broke down the word Kanda is the word we use for the scrolls of the Tulah. This Kanda was probably descended from Nimi Nzima, father of the founder of Congo. The versions emerged within Kanda during the succession disputes. For example, following the death of Alfonso I, which is what used to be Mwene, the first king, his son Pedro first and grandson Diogo formed two opposing factions. That Pedro was called the Kibala court faction, and the other whose name was unknown that followed. And see, what this is going to do is going to result in many people start going into slavery for going against certain things, because they start fighting. Okay. So this Kanda or lineage, like we talk about our ancestry, like Kuswa Congo, his Kanda, King Alvaro first was the first king of the House of Quilu. Kulo, in Portuguese, Kulo. I know what Kulo means, how they use it now, but this Kanda limb is named for the birthplace north of, so it means the bottom, the lower, okay? The Quilu reigned until 1614 when Antonio de Silva, Duke of Umbamba, intervened to place Bernardo I on the throne, and in place of Alvaro II's minor son, would eventually take office as Alvaro III. See, this is how you can see the Portuguese are already starting to put the kings in place that will do what they say, not what we wanted. Another Kanda, the House of Nsundi, later known as Kinkanga Mvika, took control of the Congo in 1622 under Pedro II and retained it through the reign of his son Garcia I. Now you can see how the names are being changed. Garcia never held power strongly, and the Kimpanzu returned to power under Ambrosio I. Kimpanzu domination ended in 1641 when the two brothers Alvaro and Garcia of the new house of Kinlaza overthrew Alvaro V and took power. See, the members of the Kinkanga Mvika were all killed or observed in the Kinlaza by 1657. The Kinlaza dynasty would reign. Now, see, this is where, man, this is where slavery is already going. People, this is a war now. We're in a battle. The Bantu people are now fighting like crazy because of all of this. The Kinlaza dynasty reigned until the Congo's catastrophic civil war following the 1665 Battle of Mbwila, when sporadic and violent alternation followed. So Banza Congo, the capital, was destroyed in 1678. And this is when we started going against each other from the mountain fortresses. Okay. The Kinlaza retreated to Umbula, where they founded the capital of Lamba. Earlier, another branch, and of course, Massa has done a lot of this history too. Oh man, excuse me. No. Okay. But you can see this continued to keep going. And then everything was finally destroyed in 1914. Ironically, that happened 3 years before the birth of who? Simo Toko. So now you can see the arrival of Mayamona. His role is to help restore all of this mess, to let people know you were always the real people, and they caused this because of our disobedience to the Most High. Okay. And what people don't understand is this language, these different names are Semitic. So you see the different Bantu kings throughout the time. Now you start getting into, and see right around this time is when the calendar changed even for the Catholic Church. Because the whole concept was they wanted to start, they wanted to start weakening our power. So we had to start going off of a different way of looking at things. They claim, of course, it was to fix the Julian calendar when the Julian calendar was based off of the Bantu calendar. Because of the the, the lineage, we had a relationship with the Romans as allies in the BC time frame of Isolele. That's why they have to hide the history now, because they can't tell you, oh yeah, the Bantus and us, we were actually allies at one time. You know, that's the whole problem. So you see, we had these kings even while many of us were in slavery. So when you go down all of the different battles, okay, all of the different changeovers, all of the different, and see, now you can see why the country, when I went there, okay, this is when, and see when the Europeans came around, what the Europeans did around this time frame, they took, remember, this is when it's Kinshasa, Brazzaville, and Angola are still one nation. Then they came right around this time and they broke it up into 3 parts. And it's around, and right around this time frame is when Leopold came in there and he started with the Kingdom of Congo person, with the with the Congo portion, he started um, destroying the Bantu people and stealing all the wealth. And that's when he told the Christian missionaries, you don't need to teach them God. They already know that. We need to let them learn it the way our way. Okay. So, and the thing about it is, let me go back to these folks. These people, knew where the Kingdom of Congo was. They already knew. They knew who, where we, even before the Kingdom of Congo, when the Most High before he brought us together in those 12 fountains in the Congo Basin, they already knew our ancestry as we were trying, all the different tribes were battling. Okay. So that's why it's important for the modern times to continue to keep people down, dumbed down, because if you start to make the connection, it really goes to show you, okay, who really is the founders of civilization. Because everything, this is the one thing that people don't understand. The Most High's kingdom, the kingdom of Isolele, set the standard for the entire world. And if you put black faces there, then it ruins the whole thing that they're trying to portray now. You see, and it also exposes those who think they are and are not. And the world starts to see, oh, you guys were never the people. But see, when you start to do that, then you become anti-Semitic. Oh, you hate them, and see, the hatred is not because this is the part people understand. The problem is not that we're trying to perpetuate a hatred mentality. It's just an anger for those who refuse to tell the facts that these rabbis, they know they lied. This is their secrets. This is why they have this inner circle. Okay, the higher level ones, they know they teach the Torah the way they want to teach it. But in the back of this is why you don't. This is one of the reasons why you have to be a certain person mental mindset to even become a cardinal and then the Pope. Okay, because they know that they have secrets that they can only reveal to those who have received a certain level. And Islam is the same way. They only reveal certain secrets to the highest levels. Because see, the reality is, this is why you just, not anybody, that's why they pick, in these organizations, they pick the people they want. Because you have to be able to maintain what they have created. And and I'm telling you, people will know, there's people who know, they basically will intimidate you into making sure that you never come out of that, where you will stay in line with whatever's happening, to the point where people have lost their lives for this truth. This is why the real reason why many people were killed and lynched, because they were the old history. You had to go along with the new history. This is where they wanted to intimidate and put fear in people. This is why they changed all the names, because they knew the lie has to be in place. The world could not know. Okay, even in Babylon, they know what complexion those people were, even though many of them turned wicked. Okay, they know who Noah and Japheth and Shem and Hakama, what they really were. They know that in the days of Noah, in the days before, the fallen angels, what they did when they interacted with human beings is they also caused variations in race. But they can't tell you that, because then it proves who really was the dominant people. And of course, there was a version of us who were more dominant than them. The Bantu people were above the other tribes in Gita. So, this is something that we really need to realize as a people. Okay. It's not about us saying, oh, well, that means that you're really trying to be against white people. No, it's not like that. It's the fact that the establishment cannot continue to think that people are going to continue to believe these lies. Okay, when it's obvious, there's glaring discrepancies that are now starting to unfold in the way things are taught biblically and even in the world. The historical factors. The cracks are starting to get bigger. And as soon they're going to be as big as the Grand Canyon, where people are going to be like, wow, we really don't know what happened. And this is why the terrors are going to suffer so greatly, because they know that they hold the secrets. But they continue to want to be in their positions the way they feel comfortable. And so when Tata nZambi, begins to continuously destroy the captivity, which is going to get more destruction coming down the road, okay, until finally it gets pummeled, then what? How are you going to survive in a place where everything is destroyed? What do you have then? But anyway, all right. Zola Quingy and Sambololo, just wanted to share this with you because it goes to show a lot of historical proof, that this is stuff that they have kept out of the public eye, out of the, because, and they'll say, oh, well, black and whites can coexist together. You don't understand. It's not about necessarily, it's about the understanding that you cannot teach a belief with the wrong narrative on a regular basis and think that the creator is going to tolerate it for much longer. When the history has been hidden from you, to keep the narrative of Esau being Jacob going, the children of Ashkenaz being Jacob going. And they're the ones that created the false sciences, that with all the way that they, the things that they have done, because they know it causes curses upon the Bana Betu to continue to believe the things that they teach. But only those who have the knowledge know this. Other people just go along like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, this is how we live. No, this world is backwards. Anyway, Zola Quingy and Samalongo, inaweza ya Congo kutwala ingeta. Oh, before I go, I wanted to show. See, it says, therefore, nZambi will afflict the scalp of the daughters of Sioni with scabs, and nZambi will make their foreheads bare. And we see that happening even in Embo. See, in Hosea 2:10, this is exactly what happened to our royalty. It says, I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one will rescue her out of my hand. So the Most High embarrassed the Bantu people, and now we are being rebuilt in their way, in the way that they've taught us and conditioned us to be. But it's an abomination to him, because what they do does not at all match what they think it does, because they don't know the true ways of the Most High. They think they do, and they really don't. See, it even says it in Nahum 3:5. Behold, I'm against you, declares Tata of hosts, and I will lift up your skirts over your face and show the nations your nakedness, and to the kingdoms your disgrace. So this is why Bantu people have been mistreated for so long, because we are a laughingstock. We are an embarrassment. We are considered a shame. This is why they even make jokes and they laugh about us, and they use us as they manipulate us in in comedies and all kind of stuff that they do, because it's like we're the laughing stock of the world, but only those who are in the know don't understand that. We think we're something and we're really nothing. They have to act. They put on an act. They have to put on that act. Oh yeah, we really value you, and they really don't. The people who are in the know, they may act like they know, but they really don't realize is that no, these people need to be where they were in order for the world to actually restore itself. But then they come with all these different speakers saying, oh, we have to bring peace and we have to do peace. They cannot have peace. The scripture even said you cannot have peace without the house of Yakuba being in this place. That is what Isaiah chapter 2 says. The house of Yakuba has to be restored, Yaoundé, Judah, in order for you to beat your plowshares into pruning hooks. The war can't stop. The wars can't stop till the Most High's holy mountain and his people are on top. It says it right there. So obviously the people who are saying they are, the wars haven't stopped, so they can't be. Anyway, all right, Samulolo, Zula Kringi, Congo Ren.